So, for the past 2 Sundays, we have been discussing these principles around getting our ducks in a row as we are working on our design for living. The first week, we talked about spiritual freedom. And the second week, we talked about unity and oneness. Now, this is week 3, and my message is walking our talk. Now, was anybody bothered by the fact that my fingers did not match my words? Yes, right? Makes you crazy when people do that. That is called incongruence. Incongruence. And the same thing happens in our spiritual lives. That's hard to do, by the way. You're thinking a number and trying to do the wrong end. But it happens in spirituality when our words and our actions and our beliefs and values don't align. Unlike me saying week 2 and holding up one finger, or saying, I believe in oneness, but then I treat you like separate. So that's the idea of this incongruence. So spiritual incongruency is observed through all faith traditions. All faith traditions experience this. We want to be good or better human beings. Yes? Yes. And we attend churches, synagogues, mosques, spiritual centers like this to learn the teaching, learn from the masters, the lessons of right living and how to change or improve our lives. Isn't that why most people go? Yeah. But sometimes, as soon as we walk out the door, we are complaining about the teacher or we're talking about the lady in the pink dress, right? So we're not practicing the principles as we even leave the center of where we were receiving the information. Now, as a Science of Mind minister, I have worked diligently over the years to discipline my thoughts and my mouth to be in alignment with what I teach. But folks, I'm here to tell you that I don't always walk my talk. Maybe I'm panicked over money, even though I know I am sourced of the universe, that there's an infinite supply. Maybe I get angry at someone because they make a mistake, even though I know we are one and we're all doing the very best that we can. Maybe I worry about an ache or a pain that I get, even though I know I am whole, perfect, and complete as this manifestation of spirit. I meditate nearly every morning. I pray, but I can still lose my peace by noon. I think we all have that capability, don't we? We all have that capability. We are still spiritual beings having this human experience, as messy and as beautiful as it is. So the Science of Mind teaches us principles and practices that help us to better understand and deal with the human condition. One of the core messages that Ernest Holmes had, though, is to prove the principles to ourselves. He says, don't take my word for it. Don't take these things at face value. Prove them in your own lives to yourself. If they're truly spiritual principles, they will work alike for everyone. He encourages us to practice, use them, and to embody them into our lives and the way we live every single day, the choices we make every single day. Now, to embody means that we're internalizing it, right? We're taking it in. It becomes part of us. Who remembers learning how to drive? Big, exciting time, wasn't it? We were getting the keys. We were getting some freedom. Oh my gosh. It was a wonderful time. This is my first vehicle, a lovely Datsun B210 automatic. Um, isn't that the ugliest thing you've ever seen? Like, gosh, I called it the rat. Anyway, it wasn't new, trust me. But when we started learning to drive, there was a million things to remember, wasn't there? We had to remember where to look, where to stop, when to turn, how close to follow, when to pass, how to pass, when to signal, mirrors. Oh my gosh. We had to remember all that stuff. It's a wonder when any of us learned to drive. But we did. And today, Are we mostly on autopilot? We're mostly on autopilot. We get in the car, we put on our makeup, we drink a Coke, we're on the radio, on the phone, listening to books, doing whatever, get someplace, don't know how we got there, but we got there and we're safe. We're on autopilot because we've embodied how to drive a car. It took time and it took practice, but we all got there. And the same's true with our spiritual principles. It takes time and spiritual practice to begin to deeply change our minds, to change our thoughts, to change our actions and get all of that stuff in alignment, like the car. We got to get it all working together at the same time. The science of mind does not and never has been a get rich or get it quick type of teaching. Now, it may have felt that way in the very beginning. Who remembers being in foundations in the first class we first got, right? Man, we were manifesting stuff. It was like, wow, this is cool. But then the more we studied, it seemed to slow down. Because the more we studied, we realized it's not about stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, stuff's great. I love stuff. Stuff's fun, stuff's great. That's all good. But we began to realize it's not about the stuff, it's about the lifestyle. It's about living in a different way. It's about adjusting our beliefs, our thoughts to be aligned more with the life that we are seeking to create. The reality of this teaching, what it really comes down to for me is it's about how life works and how we can work with it to live a happier existence. Pretty basic. How life works, how we can work with it to create a happier existence. I was reading some online stuff this week and I read an interesting article in a magazine called Brains, Brainz, and it was about how incoherence is not the same as burnout. And it caught my attention because the title had incoherence in it. And I thought, oh, that's perfect for my topic. But they were comparing it to burnout, and they described this feeling as having one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. Have you ever felt like that? Where you feel like, you're not going any place, but you're just kind of jerking around, it's like nothing's happening. If you felt that way, you've experienced incongruence. You've experienced the incongruence. When we're fighting that kind of internal battle, it's difficult to walk our talk, isn't it? Because we're focused on that stuff that's going on. Well, maybe after feeling that incoherence, that stop, start, stop, we decide, I need a vacation. I need a break. So we go off and we go on vacation. We're going to relax. And we come back home and we're so grateful to be home. Oh my gosh, back in my own bed, back in my own routine, eating normal food. Oh my gosh. It happens during the holidays. Have you noticed that? For me, it does anyway. That holiday time ramps up and there's parties and snacks and sweets and decorations and all that stuff that happens. And then by the time January comes around, I am ready for routine. I am ready for wholesome meals, normalcy, get all that Christmas stuff put away, clean up the house, back to normal, right? Back to normal. When we get back, we begin to understand that routine is not bad. We begin to understand that routine is okay. We begin to bless routine until it all starts over again. Until we begin to feel a little out of incoherence again, a little out of balance again. The brake gets heavier, the gas gets heavier, and then we get back in that routine. So what we work with in the science of mind is finding the ways to break that part of the routine to where we have greater control over the daily decisions that we make so that it doesn't get to that point. It doesn't get to the point of, this article said, burnout or this incoherence, that we can bring ourselves into spiritual alignment, which is the foundation of all of our lives. And then the rest of our life begins to unfold in a coherent manner as well. So the travel and the holidays can impact our spiritual practices, can't they? Anybody noticed that? That you go on vacation and whoops, no time to meditate. I've got to go take that little bus ride or whatever it is I'm going to do. Yeah, it can interrupt that for us. And that just compounds the incoherence that we're experiencing. Now, most of us in the room have spent a long time studying the science of mind. And it's a little heady, isn't it? It's a little intellectual, been known to be. But we have to understand all of those laws and principles and practices and rules. It's new stuff to us because it's a new way of living, a new way of interacting with the world. We need to learn them because the power in the teaching, like the power in affirmative prayer, is in its practice and practice and practice and practice. It's taken our minds up until now, wherever we are on the age spectrum, it's taken up until now for us to think the way we think today. And so it's going to take a minute to change that, isn't it? It's going to take a minute to change that. Patience, perseverance, practice. I was speaking with a minister friend this week, and she was asking for support on a journey she's on, a personal journey that she's working on, some changes and things. And she asked me to know with her that she has the strength to stay the course of her current journey and to not doubt or backslide. Now, this is a very wise woman. She is a very good minister, and she knows how the mind works. And so she's asking for support to stay focused on the new ideas long enough to embody them, to not backslide into the old way of thinking. Does that ever happen to anybody? Yeah, because we've been thinking this way for all this time, and we suddenly start thinking over here, something happens, and ooh, this is more comfortable, isn't it? So we go back over there. And she knows this, so she's asking for prayer support. Please know this with me in consciousness, that I have the strength to continue to stay on the new path, to continue to stay with these new ideas long enough to embody them, long enough to bring them in, to be a part of me, to be a part of who I show up as, to be a part of the place where I make decisions. Because isn't it the decisions that keep us over here when we're making the decisions from the same consciousness? When we shift it, though, we start to see life differently and we make different decisions. And so she's asking for that. We have to stay focused until the new ideas become our new reality. Now, I bet most of us in the room can have an intellectual conversation about the principles of the science of mind and metaphysics in general. We're learned people. We've studied. We know this stuff. The bigger question I have for us today is, am I living this teaching? Am I living this teaching? Am I walking the science of mind in my everyday existence? Am I using the principles when life gets messy? Have I embodied the teaching into the way I live every single day and the choices that I make? Most of the time. Most of the time. But what about the times when we start complaining or get judgy? Am I the only one? Are we walking the talk? Well, that's how the message showed up for me this week. As you know, it always shows up for me somehow, some way during the week before I deliver to you so that I've got a real life example. So for me, it showed up that way when I noticed that when I was complaining or judgy or just not happy about something, it was usually just in my head. It's usually just in my head. I wasn't saying anything. Man, I was sure thinking it. I was sure thinking it. I used to have a friend back home who used to say, you might as well say it as think it. You might as well say it as think it. Now, that was just country wisdom, but isn't that true? Isn't that true? We know that thoughts are things, don't we? We practice that in our prayers. We practice that in a lot of things. Thoughts are things. So if we're thinking something that we don't want to say out loud, we probably shouldn't be thinking it at all, should we? Think about that for a second. When we catch ourselves thinking critical, judgy thoughts or complaining, the better question is, why does this matter to me? Why does this matter to me? That's a great question. If we are judging someone by the way that they dress or act or drive, why does it matter to me? I don't know them. I'm not going to change them. Why would I want to waste my energy, my thoughts, complaining about that, judging that, because all of that what? Reflects back on me because life is a mirror, right? That's an important lesson for us to remember. That's an important lesson for us to remember. Why does this thing, whatever it is, matter to me? The answer that we find in that on why it matters is the avenue for healing it. It's the avenue for healing it. Something in this situation has triggered an emotional response in us. And that's where the healing is, when we can pause and recognize, I'm judging that, I'm complaining about that. Why does it matter to me? And then look at whatever it is, that reason, and begin to heal that. Begin to heal that. For me, I've noticed when I'm critical or complaining, I'm usually inconvenienced by whatever's happening. Complaining about traffic because it's too heavy and it's delaying me. Well, if I'd have left on time, I wouldn't be delayed, right? Another part of that equation I need to remember. But it's usually I'm feeling inconvenienced by whatever they're doing or saying. Maybe I'm feeling embarrassed by them. They're embarrassing me by their actions. I don't want to be near it. Or perhaps I'm predicting an outcome and imagining all the horrible things that could happen. Principles not bound by precedent, not walking the talk, right? Or am I judging from my own unworthiness, fear, or pain? Notice that all that stuff's only in my head. It's only in my head. It's my interpretation of what's happening on the outside world, just like everything in your world is your interpretation of what's happening in your head. Nobody else cares, at least as much as I do, about whatever it is I'm complaining about, typically. And where does all that land within me? My blood pressure goes up, cortisol spikes, stress goes off the charts. And we know what that does to the body, right? So is it worth it? Is it worth it to indulge in that kind of thinking? Or are we better serving ourselves by gaining control over those thoughts, changing those thoughts? Ernest Holmes says that each of us lives in our personal universe. He describes it as the subjective mental environment that you create and inhabit based on your individual consciousness. And I love that idea of personal universe because it really is what's happening, isn't it? Whatever is going on inside of us. It's our interpretation of all the stuff that's going on out there and how we're choosing to see it, interpret it, internalize it, embody it even. Our personal universe. Spirit is the loving presence. It's closer than our breath. We live in this magnificent system of universal laws that we are blessed with the intelligence, the free will, and the choice to use them. We can begin to mend that gap in between what it is we know and how we live. We can use these principles and practices to heal the past hurts and to create new horizons for ourselves. Spiritual congruence is the alignment of our beliefs, values, words, and actions. Walking our talk. And that's what allows us to live in harmony with our personal universe, is that idea of alignment. Mending the gap between our intentions and our actions will help us to live with greater integrity, more authenticity, and in alignment with life. So this week I have a couple of spiritual practices for us around this. The first one is a simple breathing exercise. And each day, I want you to set an alarm on your phone each day at noon and 6 o'clock. Pause and do this breathing exercise. It's simply to breathe in slowly for a count of 4, hold it for a count of 4, and then slowly breathe out for a count of 8. And do that 3 times. Now, I tried that practice several times, and it actually is a very good practice for the body. So let's try it now. You willing? All right, so everybody take a breath and count to 4. 3, 2, 1. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Let it out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We do that 3 times. Did you feel it in your body? Isn't that nice? So that's how we can bring our awareness present. That's how we can be in alignment to bring everything back into kind of click into place. We allow ourselves to do that practice. I invite you to use a journal prompt this week also, asking yourself, how do I live the principles of the science of mind? And follow that up with, how am I not? Not from a place of judgment, but from a place of growth, a place of inquiry. How do I live the principles of the science of mind? And how am I not? Where can I grow? We'll close this morning with a quote from Theodore Roosevelt, who said, knowing what's right doesn't mean much unless you do what's right. And so it is. So I will open the microphone if anybody has any questions or comments about walking our talk this morning, or spiritual congruence or incongruence. All right. Lori, I saw your hand first, and then Chris.
I didn't hear what you just said.
Oh, I saw your hand first, and then Chris's.
You mentioned 4 things in a row, I think, and I was still thinking about them, but then I started listening to the next thing you said, and I wonder if you remember, it was about changing or responding, to your thoughts that you want to do something different with, and you ended up in a different container over here. Do you remember?
Patience, practice, perseverance.
I
That one?
don't know. I was thinking flash them up at the end for the practice, but I'll look in the Mindful Monday.
Okay. Chris Spence's. We'll find it.
You made me realize something that I was doing through your talk that I really want to take care of. When you're my age, people are very concerned about losing their driving privileges. So I took this AARP course. It was absolutely amazing what I'd learned and how many things that I never thought of at all that would make my life and other people's lives safer. So I practiced those to the letter. But on the way over here, I remember that I was drinking water. That's not good. And I remembered that I was talking on the phone, and that's worse. So I have to stop the slide and go back to what I know is right.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Good to know that AARP course is good, huh? Yeah.
It's got to be. It has to be muscle coordination, just things you never think. And exercising your neck so that you can turn all the way around. See, it's like things
All right.
boring.
But the information is good. Good to know. Good to know. Anyone else? Anyone else this morning? All right. Thank you, ladies, for your comments and questions this morning. Would you join me for prayer, please? Recognizing that there is one power, one presence, one life that is in, through, and as each one of us, and that we are each individualized and unique expressions of it. One in the one. No separation. Not two, just one. And that one is love. And we are that love. It is harmony and balance, joy and perfection. And we are that harmony, balance, joy, and perfection. We are, we're embodied within it. It is embodied with us. We are one. And so from that place of that knowingness, of that deepest connection, I speak my word for and about each of us gathered here today, knowing that we are in alignment with our highest, greatest yet to be, that we are in alignment, and that we walk our talk, and that we live this teaching that is a lifestyle, a way of living, a faith, a philosophy, and that we use its practices of right thinking, of affirmative prayer, of affirmation, that we vision for our lives to know the greater possibilities available to us, and know that those visions come supported with all necessary for their complete and total unfoldment. And we know as we gather in this community that we are supported by each other, buoyed on our journey as we take each step into greater and greater awareness, greater alignment, and more joyful expression of spirit as us. I know for anyone that has anything on their heart today, as they lift it into this prayer, into the consciousness that we have said in this room this morning, that we hold them in our love, in our light, and we know that whatever that prayer is, that it is made manifest right here and right now, in, through, and as them, as spirit expressing, whole, perfect, and complete. I bless this center. I bless all of our centers for spiritual living, all of our new thought communities around the world, where folks are gathering to be together, to hear this message of light, this message of love, harmony, peace, wholeness. And knowing that as we gather and connect in these communities this day, that the energetic of that changes our planet, changes our world, and that there's greater peace expressing, that there's greater love expressing, greater kindness and compassion. For we are vibrational energy. And so we add our light, our love, our vibration to that this day. And how grateful I am to know this is how it works. This is life expressing and unfolding through me, through each of us. That each of us is whole, perfect, and complete. And so I release this into the action and activity of law, knowing that it is done, that this vibration moves forward across our planet, and that lives are changed, transformed, uplifted into greater joy, greater life, greater love. I release this prayer and I let it be. And we affirm this truth together by saying, and so it is.